When you look at a perfectly ripe tomato, what do you really see? I mean, beyond just tonight's dinner. Inside that fruit is a time capsule, a living library of genetic code that holds the story of its ancestors and the promise of its descendants. It's a plant that has learned to thrive right where you live, in your garden. Today, we're going to learn how to unlock that promise together.
So we've got a whole journey laid out for us. First, we'll start with the why, really digging into the purpose behind saving seeds. From there, we'll get our hands dirty with selection and prep, then dive deep into the incredible science of fermentation. After that, it's all about purifying and curing, and finally, preserving that harvest so it lasts for years to come.
You know, the real payoff here goes so much deeper than just saving a few dollars. This is about real resilience. It's about protecting yourself from supply chain shortages, for sure. But the most powerful reason? Local adaptation. You are literally creating a new strain of tomato that evolves year after year to be perfectly suited to your soil and your climate. And that, well, that makes your seeds a valuable treasure to share and trade with other growers.
Okay, this is probably the most critical choice you'll make, the parent plant. You have to start with open-pollinated heirlooms. Why? Because they hold the true genetic memory of their parents. F1 hybrids, on the other hand, are kind of like a genetic dead end for seed savers. The seeds they produce just won't grow true to type, leaving you with something completely unpredictable next season.
Now let's look at the flower's anatomy, because it dictates the genetic future of your seeds. A flower with an enclosed style, see how it's tucked away in there, is perfect. It actually self-pollinates before the flower even opens. But if you see a flower with a style that protrudes out, that's a huge risk for cross-pollination. A single bee can bring in foreign pollen and compromise the purity of your entire line.
So how do we guarantee that purity? Well, you could plant only one variety, or you could try to separate different varieties by 100 yards, but let's be honest, that's just not practical for most of us. The most elegant solution, the real pro tip, is the blossom bag. Just take a simple little organza bag and slip it over a flower cluster before it opens. Air gets in, but pollinators stay out. It's your personal guarantee of a pure genetic line.
When you're choosing which tomato to save seeds from, you need to shift your mindset. You're not just a gardener picking fruit anymore, you're a breeder selecting for the future. You want the best of the best, the plants that ripened early, fought off disease, and have the best flavor. And remember, always pick from a few different plants of the same variety. This keeps the genetic diversity wide and your future plants healthy and resilient.
Now, for the simple trick to getting those seeds out. Forget your instinct to slice a tomato from top to bottom. The absolute best way is what we call the equator cut. You slice it horizontally, right across its middle. This one simple cut exposes every single seed cavity all at once. It makes getting the seeds out unbelievably clean and efficient.
Once you've got that perfect cut, the way you get the seeds out really depends on the tomato. For those big, beefy varieties, you'll want to use a gentle massage, just coaxing the seeds out of their little chambers. But for small cherry tomatoes, don't even bother cutting them. Just poke a little hole and squeeze. The seeds and all that gel will shoot right into your cup.
Let's talk setup, because organization here is everything. My advice, use disposable cups. Trust me, you are not going to want to wash these out later. But the most important rule of all, label everything and label it immediately. Write the variety and the date right there on the cup. This one small step will save you from a potential disaster of mixing up all your hard work.
We're about to dive into the really cool science of fermentation. But before we do, if you value this mission to heal our soil, please click the subscribe button. It's the best way to support the Roots Revision community and keep this knowledge growing. And as a thank you, you can find a PDF of this entire presentation available for download in the description.
So why on earth do we have to ferment these seeds? Well, it's all about mimicking nature. You see, every single tomato seed is wrapped in this gel sac, and that gel is packed with chemicals that stop it from sprouting right inside the warm, wet tomato. In the wild, an animal eats the fruit and its digestive system ferments that gel away. Our job is to perfectly replicate that natural process. And here's our simple recipe for recreating that process. Just take your seed pulp, add a little bit of water to the container. Fill it about 3/4 of the way. Then cover it with something that breathes, like a coffee filter. This keeps flies out but lets air in. Now just put it in a warm, dark spot and let those beneficial microbes do their magic. All right, now we play the waiting game. Over the next 2 to 5 days, your little cup is going to get, well, ugly. It's going to grow a thick layer of scum, maybe even some mold, and it will definitely smell. Don't panic. Those are all signs that the process is working perfectly. Just give it a little swirl once a day. But listen to this warning.
Never ever go beyond 5 days, or you'll actually start to kill the seeds.
After a few days, something really beautiful happens. It's like nature's own sorting system. All the good stuff, the heavy, dense, viable seeds, will sink right to the bottom. And all the junk, the pulp, the mold, and any of those empty, non-viable seeds floats to the top, just waiting to be poured away.
Okay, it's time to purify our harvest. First, take a fork and gently fish out that top layer of mold. Give it a little jiggle to make sure any good seeds that are trapped fall back to the bottom. Next, you're going to do a very slow, very careful pour, letting all that dirty water and floating pulp just run right off. The key here truly is patience. For the final cleaning, pour your seeds into a fine mesh sieve. Now this next part is absolutely critical, so listen close. Only use cold water. I mean it. If you use hot water, even for a second, you will instantly cook the delicate little embryo inside that seed and kill it. So just a gentle, cold water rinse until the water runs completely clear.
Where you dry your seeds is way more important than you might think. The absolute gold standard is a plain old paper plate. It wicks away the moisture perfectly, and the seeds pop right off when they're dry. Whatever you do, do not use paper towels. The wet seeds will literally fuse themselves to the fibers, and you'll end up tearing them to pieces trying to get them off. It's a trap.
All right, go ahead and set a reminder on your phone for a 48-hour check-in. At this point, the seeds will feel kind of dry, but they'll have stuck together in little clumps. It is crucial that you break these clumps apart now. If you wait any longer, they'll harden like little rocks, and you risk cracking the seed coat when you try to separate them later on. And now for the final, long dry. Just spread your seeds out in a nice, thin layer on your plate and leave them somewhere warm and dry, but out of direct sun, for 2 to 3 full weeks. You have to remember, being dry on the surface is an illusion. It takes that long for the very core of the seed to release all of its internal moisture so it can be stable enough for long-term storage.
When it's finally time to package your finished seeds, just remember this. Paper envelopes are your best friend. Paper breathes, so if there's any tiny microscopic bit of moisture left, the paper will let it escape. A plastic bag, on the other hand, is an airtight trap. That same little bit of moisture will cause your entire precious batch to mold and rot.
This is it, your final act of stewardship. Label those envelopes right away with the variety and the year. For serious long-term storage, put those envelopes inside a sealed tin with a little silica gel packet. That creates the perfect cool, dark, and bone-dry vault to protect your genetic library for as long as 5 years.
So after all that, what's the big takeaway? It's this. Saving your own seeds is the ultimate horticultural cheat code. With every single season that passes, you are actively selecting for the plants that thrive in your specific soil, your specific pests, your specific climate. You are creating a tomato that is truly and uniquely yours.
By mastering a skill like this, you're doing so much more than just gardening. You are taking part in an ancient cycle of cultivation and human adaptation. So please, join the soil revolution. Subscribe to help our community and this planet grow. Let's continue this important work together.